QB Chase.
G'day, listeners. This episode is proudly brought to you by our major sponsor, Gym Journal. Please use the code MATTER, all capitals, at checkout, and you'll receive a discount on your next purchase. Please find the link in the description. G'day, team, and welcome back to another very special episode of the Matter Mentality Podcast, where we talk all things training, nutrition, and psychology to optimize your performance. Today, I am joined by my first tag team. I'm going to run with it. My first tag team ever. I'm excited. I'm joined by the co-founders, the big dogs, the tallest guys in America that I've ever met. The team from Coach Catalyst. We've got Trev and Kane on the podcast. How are we doing, boys? Welcome. Thank you for joining me in your afternoon, my morning. What's going on?
It's good to be here, Ben.
Good day.
We're excited. Yeah, exactly. Good morning to you. Even though it's evening for us, but if you ever do need some like 3-on-3 basketball, we're probably a couple good picks for you if you need to dominate some people down under over there. So
I feel like
you can't tell on Zoom, but
I feel like we're when in the original Space Jam, when the Looney Tunes end up going against the Monstars, but they get evolved to like I'm the Looney Tunes and you guys are after the Monstars get evolved. Yeah, that's what I feel in person. Just for visual comparison, guys.
I love it.
How you doing, Kane?
Excellent. How are you today? Thanks for having
I'm
us.
always good. I've got your beautiful faces on my screen. How can I have a bad day?
Yeah, exactly. A good way to start the morning, right?
Exactly. The best way. Brooklyn's probably going to be jealous, to be honest.
Well, I mean, of course. Who wouldn't?
All right, guys. So, being joined by two of the, I want to say, fastest growing developer coaching training app owners, founders. We're going to talk all things training, fitness, education, apps, all the jazz. It's going to be good fun. Firstly, for everyone who hasn't had a bit of an interaction with you guys previously, just give us a quick rundown. Kane, by the time this one comes out, we're going to have dropped yours already, so you don't really need to go too deep. Keep it short and sweet if you want to. Give us a little bit of a background. Trev, when it's your time to shine, give us everything, and then we'll head into, I guess, how the duo, the couple, tag teamed and got together.
Yeah, like we talked about the past. Live in Madison, Wisconsin. Trevor and I met, in college playing basketball. Went down the fitness path. Owned a gym for 10 years. Transitioned over to more of a software development that was helping gym owners at the time, and now transitioned more into helping coaches make sure they keep their clients accountable and make sure they can scale their business as best as possible. So using technology to enhance their coaching as best as possible, not replace it. And that's kind of, what Coach Catalyst is all about. Obviously, you've heard a lot about my background already. So, Trevor is
I was going to say that was the fastest history lesson I've ever heard.
We went down the whole path already. So like, if you haven't heard that one, go listen to that one. You'll hear my whole bio. So
right. I like it. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of piggybacking off what Kane said, our whole story, right, started in college. I've been an athlete since the beginning of time, right? 3-sport athlete in high school, football, basketball, track guy, and then played basketball in college, and then was fortunate to play professionally overseas in Germany for about 3 years post-college. And so, I mean, Kane and I kind of took different paths, right? So I was always like into this exercise science. Like I was exercise science degree. Like I always kind of knew I wanted to be in that world. And like selfishly, a lot of it was towards like optimization of my own performance. Like how do I get every ounce out of my own performance? And so that's really what brought me into this world. And so a lot of that was playing basketball and then playing professionally. But when I kind of got done with that career, a lot of people, when they think about performance, like, oh, I want to train athletes or I want to be in that world. But like, once you actually realize like that world is actually really, really small and there's not a whole lot of actual jobs, like training, like usually it's professional athletes. Everyone wants to train a pro athlete. Right. And so I realized that like, if I want to make this a career and I want to do this for a period of time, I needed to train like everyday people. Right. So my whole start, I was training like my mom and my stepdad and like a local community center. And I worked out of a local community center, which was probably the best thing possible for me because I had the best deal ever. And sometimes I kind of wish I could go back to that deal. But I basically paid 5% of my revenue to this community center to use all of their facilities. And this is like nice weight room, basketball court, ice arena, like I could use everything, locker rooms. And I just had to give them 5% of my revenue, which was great, right? When I had nothing, it was very little. When I was making 10, 12, 15 grand a month, it was a little bit more, but like nothing like where I'm at now with facilities and overhead and all of that. So I basically trained there until I got a big enough client base where the numbers made sense to move out of there into our own facility. And so we ended up buying a building in our town and then renovated the building and moved our facility into, or moved our clients into that building. And we started with the large group training model. That's kind of what our bread and butter was. I kind of grew up in the boot camp world where like people could just go to the local park with some set of bands and charge $250 a month and like train people. So I kind of grew up in that world a little bit. And then we've now transitioned our facilities into what we call small group personal training. And so we've moved away from that large group training, and we found that like one-on-one isn't a good fit. Like we're in a community where I can't command that type of price point or get at least enough clients that would pay that to make a business work. And so we've settled on this model now of a 6-to-1, 6 clients to 1 coach. Each client has their own specific program that they're working on, but essentially they're sharing that coach's time. And so that's what we've evolved to, and it's working well. We just actually finished the transition from large group training into that. And it went well, and we felt pretty good about it. And so, I mean, how Coach Catalyst comes into all of this is right. So Kane and I are kind of going back and forth. Like Kane was running a semi-private training facility in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm running a facility in Minnesota, which is kind of neighboring states, about 6 hours apart. And we're just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth on each other. And really what we came about was like we're doing good with training. Like when people come to us, it's awesome and they get a great experience. But like we want to do more than just training. And so there's more to this than just like the movement component. We want to help with lifestyle and nutrition and that kind of stuff, which typically takes place outside of the facility. And just to give some context for like the time frame of all of this. So precision nutrition was just coming onto the scene. I'm pretty deep in that world. So I'd done level 1 and had just finished level 2, and we were going back and forth and like how do we support our clients outside of this? And so ultimately we came into like there's no way to do it unless you employ technology. And so we tried to do it with like pieces of paper, and I don't know if Kane kind of told this story on the other one, but basically handing out a habit sheet to a client that they would take home and put on their fridge, and they would like check off if they ate their vegetables those days, and then they bring it back to you, and then I file it away, and then I give them the next one. It's like, yeah, this like works for 5 people, but it's not going to work for a gym of 200. And so it's like we have to find a way to do this at scale, and it's like the only way to do it is through technology. And so we're like, all right, let's just go buy technology. But there like wasn't anything. Everything at the time was very like workout builder based, right? So everything was just like tech for workouts. And it's like, well, I don't need that. I train people in the gym. And so there was nothing around lifestyle behavior that actually did what we wanted to do. Like we wanted an interaction. We didn't want just like an information delivery. I wanted to know, like, are you actually doing the things that you need to do to be successful? And if you aren't, that's fine. We'll figure out how to make you successful. But we just saw there's like a gap, right? You have a client and a coach, and there's this gap, like where there's just, we don't know how that client's doing. In most coaching situations, right, is I give the client some information or we agree on what they're going to work on. They leave, and I don't really know how they're doing until they come back 2 weeks later, unless I'm doing a ton of follow-up. And many times it's like, oh, hey, well, the dog threw up on the carpet and the kid got sick and this or that. And like, I didn't actually end up doing any of it. And it's like, oh, great, we wasted 2 weeks. Where if we would have known that kind of when it was happening, we could have adjusted the plan in real time and just continued to make steps forward. And so like when we started down this path of software, it was like, how do we create this thing that doesn't detract from the coaching world? Like it should enhance a coach, which is why we call it super coaches, right? It's the reason we call it the Super Coach Summit, is because it's like the technology helps make you a super coach, but it doesn't detract from like what coaching is, which is a human experience, right? It will forever be a human experience, no matter how much technology comes out. And like, we've actually tested this, like in our facility, we've taken the same program and delivered one via the technology and delivered the other one with the technology and a coach. And the technology plus coach got like a 90% like completion rate, where the technology just alone got like a 10% completion rate. And so like the difference isn't the technology, the difference is the human. And so human plus technology now creates something really special. So that was a longer history lesson.
No, I love it. It's good. That's what we want. In going back to that, one of my favorite one of my gripes currently in the online space is everyone nowadays thinks the advancement or like the progression is to go to be an online coach. Like it's a flex, that you're all of a sudden now this massive online coach, which to me is weird because there is an art and a science and an empowerment. I feel like a fulfilling experience when you see your clients in person, you're with them. Like I have merged now to an online coach, but when I get, as you guys will see in my content and the stuff we do, when I get to be present, I get to be like at comps or whether I get to be at client activities, events, there's something about being there in person so much more fulfilling. Do you guys think, well, I see it, but I'm curious what you guys think, having run technology or building technology for the coach industry, are people too quick to want to be an online coach and missing that sort of softer skills, the skills that come from being in person and meeting that person where they are, trying to understand their experiences, knowing how to communicate with them, how to build rapport to get them across the line? I personally feel like that is lacking in our game nowadays, where everyone's just rushing to be that online presence, that online coach because they're an influencer. But how do you guys see that with running the technology that helps make an in-person coach better?
Yeah, I mean, I think social media has definitely glorified online coaches, right? You kind of see this and, hey, I can build this massive business of people all over the world, when in fact, the most successful online coaches I know treat it like an offline business,
Mhm.
right? They're still trying to get people in their kind of local area because they can just talk to them better. They can,
Mhm.
you don't need this massive market of everybody in the world. You probably have plenty of people within, maybe not, 2 miles, but like within 20 miles of you, I guarantee you. But I also think the people who've run actual physical in-person gyms are better coaches because they have developed those skills, right? You have to talk to people face to face. So many people, I don't want to say, younger coaches, but
I
they
do.
don't have, I mean, they've grown up texting, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they know. They don't know how to actually talk to people. They don't know how to communicate. They don't use tonality. They don't have these softer skills that actually create human change and the behavior change, because that's what we're all about. Like as
Mhm.
coaches, that's the number one thing we need, is to change a behavior of somebody who couldn't do it before. And so
Mhm.
you need those skills to be able to do that stuff. Not saying you can't develop them, um, but I think it's people who just go straight to online, I think, have a tougher time than people who had more in-person experience and then transition to online, or that hybrid. Honestly, that where you see some people in person and kind of train them online,
Great.
same thing.
I mean, I would agree with everything that Kane just said. And the one thing that I think a lot of coaches, especially new coaches or a coach that wants to go online, is they feel like they need to win the internet.
Yeah.
And so just because I'm an online coach means I need to win Instagram, I need to win Facebook, which is like, no, like you're actually going to get to this, know, like, and trust factor a lot faster by going to a local group and giving a talk to that
Mhm.
local group that's like your ideal client, right? You being in front of them and talking to them, you're going to get some clients out of that. Where if you just did that same thing on Instagram, like you're just another person in the algorithm to an
Yeah.
extent. Not that you shouldn't do those things, but that's a longer play. Like that's a long play. If you need clients now, like shaking hands and kissing babies is a much faster way to getting clients, right? Than just posting on any of the socials. So I think that's where some coaches is like, well, I'm going to be an online coach. I need to win the internet. It's like, no, like you just chosen that as your delivery model, which is fine. But we also have to understand the inherent differences and challenges with that delivery model, right? And the thing I see the most with coaches that want to go online, and they want to go online too quick, mainly because of the all the stuff that's sold, right? Like it's sexy, it's like location dependent or location independent, it's
I can coach from Bali.
freedom, it's like income, like you can make as much as you want, like all of these things, right? Like which is great, and those things probably exist for some people, but like it's still a business and you're still dealing with humans. And
Mhm.
so we just think that like if I just do a nutrition program and a workout program, I'm going to charge $500 a month and maybe I check in with them once a month and like they're going to be good. It's like, well, that's not really how this works, right? Because coaching is a human thing. And so I think coaches forget about the connection component when they
Yeah.
go online and they don't have systems in place that build a really strong connection with their client. And it's
Mhm.
the reason their retention sucks, is because you don't have connection with your clients. Right. The reason one-to-one training in a physical space has the highest retention rate of any training like methodology or model is because you're spending 100 hours a year with a single person,
Mhm.
potentially more time than like their spouse or other people in their lives, right? And then you stay forever. Like it's because of the connection. It's not because like the great results they got. Like it's just because like they like being around you. They trust you. You're now an advisor in their life and not just like a trainer, that kind of thing. And so you can do that same stuff in the online world. You just have to like, you have to be very conscious about developing that, whether it's through audio messaging, video messaging, doing video lessons instead of written lessons. Like we can build connection in that manner, but it takes a lot of work. Like that's the thing. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go online and I'm going to work 10 hours a week and I'm going to have 200 clients, and like it's just like it's just not the case. Like
It's definitely not the case. But yeah, I completely agree with everything that's been said there. I think there's a soft skill lacking component that you can't earn. It's harder to forge when you haven't got that experience in the trenches of being with people. Once you start realizing like because online it's very easy to lie to someone. When you're face to face and you've got to be met with, eye contact, perception, interaction, and emotion and tone, and you've got to tell your coach firsthand, I didn't do that this week because X. All of a sudden, those lies or those excuses don't feel as truthful. You're like, oh, actually, I was probably full of shit. But as a coach, you don't build that skill of connecting with your clients and getting to overcome that until you have those face-to-face experiences. Like I think the first 3 years of my coaching experience was in the trenches face-to-face. And for those that will hear this, part of my talk in the virtual summit, I drop a little bit of a story in there about a certain coach who wrote these world-class programs of percentage-based and data-driven and blah, blah, blah. It was all pre-made programming templates, and none of them got touched. And it was like, yeah, that was cool that I had these data things, and none of it ended up being a solution to anyone's problems. It was me thinking I'm going to work with world-class athletes. But once I actually started getting in those trenches and learning, I was like, this isn't how you change people's lives. This isn't 99% of the client base. This is 99% of the population. And I just wasted hours of my life building something no one needed.
I think it kind of depends on the type of coaching too, right? So I mean, coaching is this really broad term, right? So when we think about fitness and movement, it's really hard to do that online from the get-go. Like you need to see people, you need to cue, you need to see what happens when I say this, and like all of those kind of things. So if someone is like a fitness coach or they want to get into fitness, it's like go work for the best gym you can possibly work for 3-4 years, become really good, and then start doing a hybrid or start moving into the online world. Now, if you're like a nutrition coach or something that's more like not necessarily I need to see you moving, I usually suggest like just do one-to-one coaching right away. Because now do calls with your clients every week so you can have that interaction. And then once you've gotten those skills, then maybe move to a group program or something that's a little bit more quote unquote scalable. But if you're a brand new coach, just do one-to-one because you really don't even know who you are really good at helping. You probably don't really have a target market or an avatar yet figured out. So it's just like coach everybody in like person, look them in the eye, use Zoom, use all these other tools that we have. And then you can kind of move into where you kind of want to kind of drop your flag type of thing. But I would agree 100% of like trying to go to this like scaled model of all like, it's just, you're not ultimately going to provide a great experience because you just haven't put in the work and the reps to be that skilled yet, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just there's better ways to get those reps quicker.
So moving on to, I want to get into kind of your guys' experiences, your thoughts. Having built something now that is, I would argue, quote unquote, quite successful. What does it feel like seeing that evolution of a product where you guys both built something with the intention of changing lives, and what has what become now, I think, 500,000 users, if not more, I believe it is, if I remember my numbers correctly. But you guys have gone from something that at your local gym, you thought this software would be, life-changing for 200 members. And now you get to see numbers like that on a daily basis in a system that you guys have developed to impact lives. Like, how does that evolution feel as the two top dogs of the company and where you guys took it? I'm sure Kane loves that little
Well, I mean, it was kind of funny. I mean, Trevor and I were actually talking about this earlier. It's never going to be good enough for us, right? It's really tough to take a step back and look at something and say, wow, like this is something pretty incredible that's been used by 500,000 people to change lives that we've built. When on a daily basis, like everything, when you create something, you see all the areas that you can improve. Now, if we actually stopped and took a step back and looked at where we started, it's changed considerably. Like our first version was awful. Let's just say it like that. That's what it was. I can't believe anybody paid us $1. I mean, looking back on it, it looked terrible. It barely functioned. It did one thing and one thing only, which is the way you need to start. But like, yes, it is morphed and iterated and changed and grown like crazy over time. And if we actually took a step back, it is pretty incredible to look at, especially as two people who can't write software, right? We are literally two gym owners who can't write a line of code who have created a pretty big software company. That concept is pretty cool. But it is something that I don't think we'll ever actually step back and say, oh, we're really happy with this, right? There's so many things we could do better. There's so many things we could add. There's so many ways we could make coaches' lives easier or tweak or improve. And I think that's just part of our personality too, is we always want it to be better, and we see that. But I think just, yeah, our backgrounds aren't in software, and to create a software, and I think that's helped us a lot. And maybe Trevor wants to expand on that, but like our backgrounds, I think, have helped us in the software game versus hurt us, because we're so different from all the other companies.
Yeah, like we're in a space that's like we're not unique in this space. Like this isn't a space that doesn't have any competitors. Like this is a fairly saturated space because we're in the workout software space because we have a workout builder, but we came at it with a different angle. And I mean, part of it was timing, right? Behavior change was starting to like make its way into the health and fitness world, where before that, no one was talking about this kind of stuff. And we're starting to see the industry morph into coaches need to be adept at fitness, nutrition, behavior change, lifestyle management. Like all of these things are now the consumer is kind of wanting these things. And so there, I mean, there was definitely a timing component, which we couldn't time at all. Like it was just that, but we were developing it for ourselves in a way. Like actually not in a way, we were developing it for ourselves because we were using it with our clients in our facility. And so rather than coming at this from a tech angle, being like, hey, this is a really cool market, and like, here's an angle that we think we can capture market value. We were like, well, like we're coaches and like we see a problem in the coaching industry. So let's just try and solve that. And like we could talk ad nauseum, like the number of like mistakes or things or money lost or like because we were just trying to figure it out. But I think part of our personalities is like we're gonna figure it out. Like this isn't like we don't need to know how to do this, but there are people that know how to do this. We're resourceful enough. And we were fortunate to have our facilities. So we were able to kind of like side gig this thing for 3-4 years and not have it like have to pay for our mortgage and food and all of that. So we were able to build in a way that allowed us to be a little bit more deliberate on what we were building, because it was like, hey, we have X amount of money. X amount of money will build us A, B, or C. Which of these is going to have the most benefit to our coaches, but also get us new users because we need to keep building the company. And then we would go build that thing, and then we'd get feedback. And so we had to just build it slower, right? We didn't have $2 million from a VC firm and said, hey, go build this thing. And then you build this like really cool product and you hope that people want it. We were able to kind of build along the way, and we were fortunate to get people to pay us enough money to like keep thinking that we could make it better. Right. And so, and now it's something completely different than what it was before. And honestly, like workouts just kind of like came into it because of COVID. Like we weren't actually setting out to build a workout builder because we had gyms. It's like, we don't need a workout builder. We train people in person. Now actually I like having a workout builder for my in-person training. It makes it better. And then COVID hit, and all of our coaches were like, hey, we're using this for nutrition. We're using it for challenges. We're using it for all of these things, but now I don't have a gym or I can't be open. So I need like an online workout builder, and I don't want to use you and someone else, insert whoever. Right. And so we're like, all right, we'll build it, but we built it in a different way. We built it in a way thinking from like coaches. It's like, we didn't want to serve the 2%, the master's degree in physiology that wants to know every single element of the workout and how much load was lifted and what was the speed and all of that. Like, it doesn't matter for the vast majority of our users. Training Olympic athletes, things like that, where milliseconds matter. Yes, it matters. But in the vast majority of things, it doesn't matter. What matters is, did you do the workout or not? Like, did you show up? Did you move some stuff around? Did you move a little bit more this week than you did last week? Cool. Like, we're doing well. And so we're like, all right, we're going to build that thing because that makes a whole lot more sense. And as a coach, I don't want to take an hour to build a workout because I need to select this drop down and this drop down. Is this time or is this distance or is this reps or like, what is this? And like, I got to do that for every exercise. 10 exercises later, like I'm 20 minutes into this thing and I haven't even built the entire workout. So we're like, all right, let's just make it quick. Boom. Just type in what you want. Awesome. And then ship it. And so like we just came at it from a different angle. And so I think the reason we've been able to find some traction is because we didn't come into the space as a workout builder. We came into the space as kind of, I call it like a learning management system. Like that's a behavior change system. Like that's really what our core was. And then we brought some workouts onto it. And now like that makes us different because like no one else is doing that combination of things. So we're able to like capture that part of the market where people care about that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, very interestingly, actually, you had one of my original mentor educators in behavior change, Gary Mendoza. He was on your.
Oh yeah.
I won't undersell the guy. Instrumental in my approach to understand, as I already started studying psychology, to implement. Instrumental in my learning approach to actually delivered the trans theoretical model at the Coach Catalyst Summit from learning it from him. And I saw you guys bring him on. I was like, yes, this guy needs more credit in this space. Like you look at it, he's got like 2,000 followers, and like this guy's literally changing thousands of lives through like the model they put together for CBT and behavior change. I was like, thank God someone's actually got this guy on to talk to about actual lifestyle modification, which is what brought me to, after talking with Cav and looking through the app, why I actually came to Coach Catalyst keen to use it when I saw like this wasn't just intentional to be a, XYZ workout builder. It was this is where we make change in people's lives, and this is how you build that, and then you add the workouts on top. Now, I want to move on just into where we're going to go from here, because this episode is about hyping you guys up. It's about hyping what you guys are doing, because I love it. I think it's great, and I think it's a space missing in Australia, which is what I want to get to. You guys are moving into an educational sort of region. Not sector. It's not a sector. You're moving into an informational, educational portion of the fitness community, which is quite cool. Moving towards summits, education, putting out events. It's not quite big in Australia. It doesn't happen in Australia anywhere near as frequently. We don't have the population base. We don't have the coaching base or the client bases to, I think, warrant it. But we spent 2 weeks in America, and I spoke to like 100 people that have done like 1,000 summits and events, and live events, workshops. So it's big over there. What led you guys? So, obviously your senior coaches do their thing, and you're seeing them either struggle or succeeding, but wanting to do better. What headed down the route of we need to make that super coach experience a live experience and bring people together in person? What led to that happening? Where I was fortunate enough to come over and drop some absolute A-bombs. But how do we go from being this behavior change in-person gym program system to, hey, we're going to help others do it just out of the fact like they want to buy a ticket and come be in person and experience it?
I mean, I think it was a long evolution. Like we held our first in-person event, which was 12 people, I think it was, back in 2019, up at a small hotel in Minnesota. I think Trevor and I both crave in-person events, like working with people in person. That's what our gyms are built on. And I think at this day and age, especially in software, it's too easy to sit behind a computer and just type, right? And we all know, like, if you have a problem, just get on the plane. Like, just go meet belly to belly, way better. Everything works better. And so COVID kind of crushed that, right? It just kind of squashed all that. And I think over the years, what we found is we could teach people how to use the software better, right? We could teach them all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, if they're not running a good business, if they're not, becoming better coaches in general, it doesn't matter how good the software is. It's about the human being behind the software, behind the app. And so I think we just kind of knew, hey, you know what? There's a bunch of people, there's some people doing this out there, and some people are doing it well, but like our people are already looking to us as experts. They're already looking to us for information. We want to be able to pull in the best people from around the world, from around the country, everywhere, with the best, insights to be able to make them super coaches. And so I think it just kind of led to this, we went back and forth for years of, should we do this? Should we not? I think eventually it's this, nobody else is going to. We know how to do this better than, most people. Let's pull together our amazing community of coaches and put something on.
And I mean, we've been fortunate, like I've been coaching. I mean, I started coaching people in college, so that would have been like 2007, 2008. So like we've been in this industry forever, pretty much our entire careers. And so just the fact of being in an industry that long, you make connections and you see people rise. And like, we had a unique ability to bring in certain people that are doing really good work. And so it'd almost be selfish of us to not try and provide a platform for those people to be successful. And like Kane said, like selfishly, like if our coaches run better businesses, they stay with Coach Catalyst longer, they change more lives, right? So it's good for us, it's good for them. And so it just makes sense. Events are not like a moneymaker. Like you don't do events to like make it a great business model. If you come out even at the event, you're excited. And so, but it was a way that, and Kane touched on it, for us to build community in a world that is very segmented. Like technology is kind of like it just lives out there, but like we're a company with real human beings and we have real customers, and being able to be in person and build that community, and live events are probably one of the best ways to do that. And so we get to know our users better, they get to know us better, and obviously the more connected we are as a group, like we're probably going to hang out a whole lot longer than just like they had to choose between us and someone else, but they knew us and they liked us, they probably choose us, right? And so it's just being humans at the end of the day. And then we had a unique ability to be able to bring in these people to then, educate and give a platform to. And so, yeah, it's been fun.
I think it was awesome. To reiterate the entire connection aspect, we'd never actually met any of you guys face to face. Like we came over fresh as daisies in America. Like it was literally our first trip to America, first time meeting anyone. I'm almost certain Cav is actually going to be taking my kidneys for an ice bath at some point. Like this is where I think it's going. I've written my will out, being like, just in case, I don't know. Like let's see what happens. It's America. Who knows? Let's see what happens. And to get there and feel like there was people waiting hand and foot to give me stuff, and I'm asking like out of guilt. I'm like, Kenny, what do I do? What do you want me to do? How do I help? Like, do you want me to do something, hand stuff out? It's like, shut the fuck up. You're here to present and give information. Go sit down and watch. I'm like, but what do I do with my hands? But like, I remember walking through the corridor, going into the entry, and you guys have stations of people, like information stations, where it's like, how do I use Coach Catalyst if I want to sign up? If I'm not already a user or member. You have stations where you're giving away show bags or gift bags or tote bags, with just simple stuff in there that's memorable, or worth having. But just simple little gadgets or information pieces where it's like someone's walking away from this knowing a little bit more. And then on that, obviously, you've got you guys had the information book. You guys had like the summit sort of summary. There's like space to take notes and fill things out. So like people are being given free information, and then they're also being given more stuff. It's not free; they pay for it, but they're giving a lot of information, and then being able to take stuff away as well to remind them, like, hey, these guys are actually pretty cool. Like you guys are interested in me succeeding, not just taking my money. And then on top of that, the extra length that was gone to provide value, information, more connection, more contact, like to have CEOs, CFOs, COOs at the counters delivering information, telling you how to use the product, is something I haven't seen when I've gone to an event experiencing products. Usually over here, you go to a fitness expo, there'll be like a director or a sales rep at the supplement, like the supplements stand or something like that. Or you might have a new coming up product, but at the level you guys are, to be on the ground, obviously at the Coach Catalyst Summit, delivering how to use it, and then taking care of your speakers, and then taking care of the guests. Like, I think that summarizes what you guys made to such an experience. I think that kind of like really culminates how you guys built the idea and what makes Coach Catalyst good and exciting and family building.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on a lot there, right? I think one of the keys to live in-person events, right? It's the experience. That's why people go. Information is great, and they leave with hopefully quality information, but the experience they have is probably the most important thing. And what I think a lot of people get wrong is they get the big moments right, right? Okay, there's big things that happen, and they get that right, and it's cool. What makes an event memorable are the moments between the moments. It's those little things, right? It's all the little touches that we thought about. It's all the little experience. Okay, what do they want them to see from this view? All these little things that don't really get, noticed, but make the experience just kind of amazing in general. And then it just goes back to just wanting to connect human beings, right? It's just like I would say, I like meeting belly to belly. I think it's fun. I think it's nice to do that. You make a bigger connection. We're also two Midwest guys, right? We're just generally speaking, nice people who want to help and chat and, you know, get along. So I think that's kind of yeah. It's whoa, not Vikings fans though. Okay, one of us at least. We like winners here. We like winners, not Vikings. But I think that's just part of it too. Like that's kind of our personality. Like being around people, like helping. We're not going to hide somewhere in like some room and like not talk to anybody. That's not who we are.
And what Kane said too, that I just want to iterate. And one thing we thought about a lot about the event is like information is great, and there's lots of events that have great information, but the events that you get the most out of are typically the events where you meet someone or you make a connection, and it's more about like the attendees interacting, even more than just attendees interacting with speakers. Like that's good, and we want to facilitate that. But if we could introduce you to someone else that could help move your business forward or create a lifelong connect, like a lot of my best friends in the industry are people I've just met at events. I sat by them or I went out to dinner with them, and that's where a lot of the real cool stuff happens. And so we really tried to think like, how do we facilitate this? And so we had a fairly intensive intake form. So we kind of knew who the attendees were and what they needed to get out of this event. And it wasn't a 5,000 person event. It was small enough to be able to do that with people. And I think those are the types of events that you really get a lot out of. And that's what could springboard someone else's career too, because they met the person that made the connection that allowed them to, you know, get the article in Men's Health or whatever. And that doesn't come from like the information you get from stage. Like that stuff is good. And you're going to have 2 or 3 nuggets that come out of it, but it's the people that you get connected with that now become friends and allies in the industry that makes it super powerful.
Yeah, even from a speaker perspective, it's something I've never experienced. Like I've done small level, like you said earlier on, go and do like local presentations, information delivery. But I remember at one stage, I think I spoke about this with Kane. At one stage, I remember walking back to the elevators, and I think it was the end of the first day, and I'm walking back. And obviously, I've got my necklace on with my ID and stuff on there to say like I'm a speaker. And out of nowhere, like I'm just walking through thinking like I'm one of the actual attendees. And I'm walking through, and someone's like stopped me, and there's a group of guys like they're young jack, like they're getting bigger, and they're obviously like come to learn or be coaches, and they've stopped me, and they're just like, "Oh shit, you're speaking! Like, what are you?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm just talking about like lifestyle change and like behavior change, like how we get it wrong. And like teaching you my model, like that's all that is." He's like fully hyped up. And I'm just like, "Do you want to hear it now? Like, I'll tell you now if you want it. Like, I don't know. I'm excited to talk about it." It was like to me, it was like to have people so close and connected, and like be so intermingled. It was just like this unreal experience for me. But having very quickly could either inflate your ego, or it could realize like how humbling and cool this experience is to be able to teach people, that have people want to connect and learn on a similar topic from different realms of the same world. Like that to me was a very cool moment that I'd never been given the opportunity to have. And so like I was in the foyer, and I remember like at the end of my speech, I was like, we've got free shirts to give away. Come ask me questions. Like I'm here for 2 weeks. Let's like talk about some shit. So that to me was cool, where people actually came out in the hallway. And I know you guys are big on this. Like it's the experience in the hallway that is memorable for the event. And I was like, ask me whatever. Like, how do I make you better right now? Like I've got time. And to have people actually come and ask those questions, like, oh, I've got a friend who can't quite lose the weight yet. This isn't quite working. How do I do it? And how can I change it? I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like Brooke was just sitting there just snapping photos, like, oh, this is content. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. Like, can we do this the whole time? So I think that really summarizes me like how great of an experience you guys built out, and obviously very indicative of the type of person that you drew, that they actually want to go inquire, ask questions, and that the speakers are willing to. Like I spent most of the day there with Aram at one point outside, just talking about dumb shit in the industry and people, and it was great.
And I think that's key, right? And we picked certain speakers that we know, number one, would deliver amazing content. Like that's a non-negotiable, right? You have to deliver something that is amazing that people will learn from and take action from. But number two, won't go hide in their hotel room the rest of the time. Yeah. And I can't tell you the number of events I've been to where the speaker comes down, gives his one talk, and goes right back up to his room, and you never see him again. And it's like, that's not the environment we want. We want to cultivate something where, yes, you are speaking, you are the expert on this, but you also can learn from other people and mingle and contribute to the overall community. And I think that's a testament to you, I think, as a speaker, of showing up and being willing to do that. And I think it's just all the other ones we kind of handpicked is to help make sure that we foster this type of community.
So we have an upcoming event that I really want to touch on. There's some amazing speakers in it. we've got now the rise of virtual summits. Now, obviously, like, we're talking about the connection, we're talking about the intermingling, and that's obviously an aspect that's going to lack a little bit in this sort of environment. But the upcoming Coach Catalyst Virtual Summit, why are we delivering virtuals? What's the target audience? What are we trying to achieve out of it? Like, how do we hype this bit up? This is where I want people to get to, because is basically free access to worldwide great information. Like, you don't have to be somewhere like, we had to fly to America for the summit, which is understandable. Like, we loved it, but not everyone's going to fly, 17,000 kilometers for us Australians, to a place that, they've never been before, they don't know anyone, so they might not do that. How is the virtual summit different, but also giving them that information, that similar sort of experience?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have a virtual summit is there's not as many barriers to access, right? And so you can't do the same things with a virtual summit that you can do with a live summit. Like, there's just not going to be the same connection and all that. Like, that's just because it's virtual. It's the way it goes. We've done some things to help cultivate that a little bit, or as best we can in that setting, but it's really about, someone can come for free, right? You can be anywhere in the world. And we've kind of crafted it in a way where we have live talks. So we have some talks that there's going to be live, and there's going to be Q&A. That we have keynotes going on, a couple each day. So you can show up live, interact with these people at the end. We're doing some roundtables live as well on different kind of aspects, like how to be a nutrition coach or how to be an online coach, how to build a team in the online world, and also like how to grow a brick and mortar. So depending on where you're at in the industry, you can kind of learn from others that are doing it well, that are actually coaching in the industry, not like business coaches, but like actually they pay their mortgage by coaching people, actual people, and not teaching people to teach people how to coach. And so we've got the live component of it where people can show up, ask questions, engage, but then we also have the recorded component of it where I call them tactical talks. So it's 30 minutes, pick like one or two things you can teach in that time frame, and then something someone can just take and go away and implement into their coaching business right now. And so we've got a nice like wide range too. So you can find out like, what am I interested in? And then you can watch that thing, right? Versus sometimes at a live event, you kind of have to sit through all of them to get to maybe the ones you want to hear. But at this, we've kind of crafted it in a way where like, you're going to have access to these 8 talks on this day. Cool. Which one resonates with you? Watch those talks. And they're short enough where you can just watch it in between sessions, or you can binge on 3 or 4 of them if you need to, and you're not out an entire day, and you can do it from your couch or your office, that kind of stuff. And so it's a nice blend to be able to provide that information, but not have it be so cost prohibitive of flight and, hotels and all the other things that just come along with being in a live event.
Too much out of that game? No, pretty happy with that.
No, I mean, that's Trevor's the one that hosts all of our virtual events, and he does an amazing job of bringing together the speakers and helps introduce them and cultivates. I think he gets things out of them that they don't normally talk about on normal, podcasts they go on, or normal, maybe presentations they give. So I think it's a really unique experience where you might have heard the same person before, but you'll get something new out of them too.
Yeah, I like that. I like the less restricted access to information. I think like being able to get that level of access and interaction and exposure to other coaches. Like, it's always, when you see these people trying to give talks, sometimes it's guys like you said, Trevor. They're like, they're coaches to coach, and they're basically a pyramid scheme of business marketing. And they don't actually understand out in the trenches on it. They may have not even coached a client for 20 years. It's always been about like rather making the dollar amount that it is teaching the basics to someone and changing their life. So to actually have coaches in the delivery, like there's active coaches right now doing this. Like, like myself, I do this for a trade. This is what I do with love and passion. To have them in the delivery, I think, is what's most exciting, because firsthand that whether it's completely absolute 100% evidence-based information, or it's like, hey, amongst my population of 1,000 clients I've worked with, this worked, which is still for anyone in evidence-based, n equals 1,000 is a very good sample size. So we would take that and say, hey, that works. That's working somehow. That information and that access, I think, is quite important for other coaches to hear, to reduce that friction. Like, I don't know how to read papers, but this guy's telling me this worked for his 10,000 clients. That's probably pretty good.
And I mean, the nice thing about an event too is when we think about like behavior change, we think about like getting people to actually show up, right? If we were just to say like, hey, we have all these talks in this vault and you can just go watch them whenever you want. Like, yeah, some people would take us up on that, but having an actual event where it's like May 8th, May 9th, May 10th, here's what's coming out on the 8th, here's what's coming out on the 9th. Here's, you can kind of like, you look forward to it. You can kind of set a schedule to it. You can actually get this information and go on back and implement it the next day. And so it gets people to actually like go get the information, consume it, but then execute on it versus just like searching YouTube for different things and like going down those rabbit holes. And I think the speaker lineup is really diverse. I mean, we've got people like all over the space. We have people like Joel Jameson, who runs like 8 weeks out, works with MMA athletes, and is probably like the guy from a conditioning standpoint, like in the industry. We have people like Luca Hocevar that runs his own gym. Like he's still there, coaches 20, 25 hours a week. We've got like Jen Brocksterman, who runs a nutrition coaching business and also has a nutrition coaching certification. We've got people like you. We've got people like Paul Need that are like in the trenches, working with people, also doing some education with coaches. And so it's this like really nice blend of people in the fitness world, people in the nutrition world, behavior change, but like it's all under this kind of lens or umbrella of coaching. Like coaching is coaching, whether it's nutrition or fitness, like coaching is coaching and it's dealing with humans. And so there's going to be overlap. And so sometimes if you're a nutrition coach and you're learning from a fitness coach, you'll actually get some takeaways because like they're looking at it through a different lens. Like, oh, that would make sense for my nutrition clients, but I haven't thought about it that way because like I'm not a fitness coach. And so I think there's a nice overlap in what we can learn from kind of sister industries that are pretty much the same, but just a little bit different.
And we're giving away some prizes too. So I mean, what's better
Everybody
than
loves
winning free
free stuff.
prizes?
One
Right?
of them isn't a free plane ticket to America in August, is it? That'd be.
No. But we are giving away a pair. We're giving away Apple products every single day. So I mean,
shit.
that's close, right?
There you go, guys.
And some Coach Catalyst swag gear, exclusive swag gear that you can't get.
I still wear my slides, by the way, just so you're aware. I still wear my slides. Then my round the house. I don't want to feel my feet on the floor. I'm rocking my slides. Okay, so moving. Yeah, well, actually, I want to summarize. Everyone that obviously hasn't caught on, I want you to go to the Coach Catalyst Summit. Anyone that's listening as a coach, there's coaches I meet in Brisbane all the time that will come up and say, listen to podcasts. They go to posing workshops, training workshops, bodybuilding workshops, whatever. Diversify your knowledge, diversify your experience, your understandings. Go to something like the Virtual Summit because it doesn't really exist in Australia and there's not enough of it in Australia. So having access to this worldwide is going to up your game, up what you know, enhance your knowledge, your learning, and just increase your ability as a coach and a business. So one of the things I don't think people really comprehend is that, yes, we are coaches. Yes, we are our bread and butter is coaching a person or people or groups, whatever. But we are also a business. It's my belief that it's our inherent responsibility to succeed as a business because we can't change the lives of people if we fail. If our business collapses because we don't know that stuff. So getting amongst the knowledge of people who also run their business through certain models or systems, go learn it, be amongst it. So we'll drop all the links and stuff in all the show notes about the summit coming up, so you can register. Go do it. I do not recommend it enough. I'm recommending it as much as I can. Do yourself a favor and go listen. But to finish off, I've got a couple of questions for you guys because you guys are making a big impact in the industry. I believe. I like the way you guys do it. I like the way the app is designed. What is one thing that you both like seeing that is currently changing the industry from where it might have been 10, 15 years ago?
So I'll go with this one. So the thing I've seen change in the industry that I think is a positive piece is like what we're built on and what you talk a lot about is this idea of bringing behavior change into this world, right? Because if we go back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's like sets and reps, it's this or that. And like, well, that stuff is great. Like to have a bigger impact on like what's actually happening in the world, we need to help people make better decisions or help them to create new behaviors that support where they want to go. So we don't live in a world that's all that supportive of like being healthy and being active and all of those kind of things, at least especially in America, right? And so other countries are doing a better job of it, but in America, we're not very good at that stuff. And so like it's really easy to be unhealthy. That's the easy route, right? And so if I don't care about anything, I'm probably going to go that way because our environment is just built that way. Fast food restaurants, like easily accessible food, 24 hours accessible food, typically highly processed. That makes it easily digestible. We're taking in more calories. It's easier to sit than it is to move, right? We don't do much physical labor anymore. Much of it is behind computers. And so like everything in a way is working against someone. And so I think coaching is one of the most like noble professions out there, because you typically aren't going to get paid a lot if you don't understand how to run a business. You can have a really lucrative coaching career if you understand business principles and you're willing to work at your craft, definitely. But out of the gates, not really. But you have the chance to have a massive impact in people's lives and actually like change the trajectory of someone's life. Like if they don't meet you, right, they go this other direction, but something you said, a presentation you made, a conversation that you had, like got them to start thinking about, hey, like I can take control over this and I don't need to like fall in the easy path. Like I can get to the gym a little bit. I can start eating a little bit healthier. And then we kind of think about like the ripple effect, right? Like, so that person starts making a change and now you have everyone 1 degree away. So if it's like a mom or a dad in a family, right? Now they affect 3 or 4 other people in their family. And so you start to see these ripple effects that happen. And so seeing the industry evolve from just like kind of the bodybuilding days of fitness to now into like this kind of holistic, how do we help this person be successful with nutrition and behavior and stress management and fitness and all of that. I think that's been one of the coolest evolutions of the industry, and it's only going to continue to get better. And I think that's one way that we're going to have an impact on like how do we create a healthier world, is just let's get some more coaches and teach them how to help more humans. And because everyone kind of has these little pockets and communities, right? And if we can get coaches in all of those pockets and communities, like some cool stuff could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think mine is very, very similar to that, right? It's almost the legitimacy or the pride of coaches in the industry, right? I mean, 10 years ago when I was running a gym, I can't tell you the number of trainers I knew who were um they're almost like scared to say that was a profession, right? It wasn't, they were looked down upon. Oh, you're just a personal trainer, you just hold a clipboard and count reps. Like what else? I mean, as a gym owner, I had numerous clients come up to me and say, "Oh, like cool, what's your real job?" It's like running this entire gym is my real job. Thank you. But like I'm sorry it's not good enough for you. Um and I think for a while our whole entire industry had that kind of connotation. And now I think that it's gone beyond just the sets and reps like Trevor's talking about. It's becoming the holistic coach. It's this preventative help, which is preventative health, which is actually starting to become something instead of just reactionary and go to your doctor for it. I think that's made our industry take leaps and bounds forward and brought smarter people into it, which has brought more like legitimacy and people look up to personal trainers and trainers and coaches and not down on them as much anymore. So I hope that trend continues. I think it will because like Trevor said, health is not something we're doing a great job of in this country right now. And um, let's hope that'll change. But I think it's just I'm hopeful for our industry. I'm hopeful for the people coming into it and kind of propelling it forward. And so I'm really interested to see where it goes.
And I mean, it's cool, right? Because with the advent of technologies become more readily accepted. I think COVID did a few things to kind of push this forward a little bit faster, where there's more opportunity to access the people that need help. And so, yes, you can have a massive impact in your local community, and you should, but you also then have the ability to impact other people where you have a unique skill set to help them. And like you've never been able to access these people before. And so we like live in this age where like you just have more opportunity than ever to make these changes, which I think helps with like, okay, I can actually make this a career. I can make a living out of this. It can actually fit in with, everyday life. And I don't have to just work early mornings and evenings. And like you can create a life within coaching that makes sense for the long term. And that's like another piece of us is we want to try and keep people in this industry as long as possible, right? Because the average for most coaches is they flame out in like 6 months. I think that's what personal trainers in the United States is. It's like their life cycle is like 6 months, right? And so like think about all these people that we're losing because they couldn't make it work, right? And so all these people that at least they were excited at one point to help people change their lives, but they just couldn't make it work, and so they go sell insurance, and do whatever, right? Like, or the real estate, like that's always the other kind of joke, but
Commercial real estate. Always.
commercial real estate. So it's like, how do we like help empower these people to be able to make a living? Because a lot of it comes down to, can I make a living doing this? And it's more possible now than it ever was before. Yes, it's going to be hard. It is very much like entrepreneurship. It's not like this like just accountant path where if I just go, pass my tests and I'm going to go work for a firm type of thing. Like, you have to have a level of entrepreneurship. You have to build up business acumen and that kind of thing in order to be successful. But it is possible. And people can have great careers and are having great careers. So you have now that vision of what is possible, which I think is a huge piece of it. And so we know now we're seeing, a group of people that are starting to retire. Like, hey, I was a coach my entire career. Right. When I first got into the industry, there was very little people that like retired as coaches.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're now starting to see that. So again, it's like, what's possible? And so I think we're starting to see more possibility in the industry, which then kind of helps coaches to just stick it out a little bit longer to be able to create that business.
Well, that leads to my last question, which I think is a great segue that I did not intend. So fantastic. Is going back to your younger starting selves, what is one piece of advice from each of you that you would give to founding Trevor and Kane to better their chances of success or better their knowledge base, better their experience, so that not just Coach Catalyst, but your coaching career, your, yes, Coach Catalyst, but the business side of things accelerates faster or is more likely to succeed?
I mean, for me, I think it is marketing and attention are more, it's probably more important than you think, right? There was a time, especially when I owned my gym, I would get so mad because there was a trainer, across the town from me who was awful. Like, he would hurt people constantly. I knew what he was just bad. He was a bad trainer, but his business was so much bigger than mine. And I'd get so mad about that. Like, I deserve better. I'm a better coach. And yes, you need that, right? But he was a great marketer. And so he kept bringing people in. And so I think there's a balance, right? You never want to be that good marketer who's an awful business person who can't deliver on it. But you can't just be the person who delivers the service and can't bring people in. Like, so you have to be able to balance both of those. And I think we've seen it, both in the early years of Coach Catalyst, we were very, very product focused, which I think we had to be. But, nobody really knew about us because we weren't out there getting attention and being able to draw people in. And so I think there's a balance there, but not sleeping on that side of the business. You have to be good at your craft. That's a non-negotiable. But then you have to take the other sides just as seriously at some point too.
So if we're talking about Coach Catalyst, I would have learned to code. I would have told myself to code. It would have been a whole lot cheaper for one of the founders to know how to code than having to hire all of that out. And so if I was, hindsight is 2020, right? But I think Kane said it really, really well, is we both got into the industry for a passion for helping people and a passion for fitness and just being really good at coaching. And I think that's why a lot of people get into it. And so finding that balance of like, yes, you need to be really good at coaching. And like Kane said, it's a non-negotiable. I mean, that's just part of the craft, but you can't be afraid of the business side and you can't be afraid of them kind of growing together at the same rate. I was fortunate early on to get a business mentor that kind of helped steer me in those in that. And I probably, if I was going back, is like hire someone to help sooner. Because that's going to help accelerate your progress, right? Especially if it's not something that like you're super interested in. You kind of need that accountability from a business mentor to be like, hey, are you getting out? Are you talking to people? Are you shaking hands? Are you doing that kind of stuff? Just like any other client would maybe need with their fitness or nutrition from a coaching standpoint. So I would say hire coaches sooner rather than later and find a way to make it work, because many times we don't have a lot of money, but like you can get creative. Right. And so you can provide value in a different way where, hey, will you coach me, but I'll do X, Y, and Z for you in return. Like everything in life is negotiable. And so just you can use whatever resources you have at your disposal at any given time. Right. And typically when you're early on in a career, you have more time than you have money. So how can you give time to help someone? And then as you get later in your career, now we use money to buy back our time. And so, those would be a couple things I think I would give some advice on.
I love it. I love it. This is fantastic. You're getting firsthand advice and experience and knowledge from guys that have done it for a long time and a very, very successful company that had no business building a coding-based software company. So, I mean, you can't really ask for much more hands-on.
And anything is possible is what that means. Anything is possible.
I mean, I was fortunate. I had Brooklyn understand back-end writing for web design. So I was like, I got no idea. What is this? What's a Wix? What is any of it? And luckily for me that she managed to put together. So go team. See, complimenting, it's great.
Exactly. Yep.
Guys, I just want to thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I am looking forward to the virtual summit. I'm humbled and grateful you guys have given us the experiences that you have. We look forward to coming over again in August, to just being there again in person and connecting with all of you guys. So my biggest advice and push to everyone listening is get amongst the virtual summits, especially the ones that I'm going to recommend. Like, I don't put my name to things very often because, well, a lot of the time there is some sort of like gimmick to it. But in the space where you're just receiving free information and free knowledge and experiences, you cannot falter with the world-class education that's going on inside the virtual summit. So sign up, join the links. We'll put it all in the show notes. Guys, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks
Ben.
for having us, Ben. It's been great.
All right,
Thanks, Ben.
let's go. See you guys.